It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Wednesday. Gary, what's happening?
I nearly fell over right into you right before we were getting on the air. I had to throw something out over there.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of pair of reading glasses in case I leave one out in the other room, so I always have one in here.
Yeah.
Because that's the worst thing ever. Worst thing ever is if you lose your reading glasses.
Right.
It's like it doesn't matter whether your computer's working or you've got hard copy in front of you. If you can't read it, it's tough. But I knocked the reading glasses over, and they got caught. You know, the two sides of it in my sneaker, and I was trying to shake it off, and I nearly fell because I was standing up. I nearly fell right into you, and we're like 2 seconds from going on the air, and that's why
I missed
I'm
that
laughing.
whole thing. Wow.
Yeah, you were looking straight forward.
Finally, we have excitement in the studio, and
I could imagine.
I could have watched you almost fall. Are you kidding me? I missed it?
I could imagine if I would have fallen into you just as you were going on the air, going, "What the hell's going on, Gary?"
Yeah. A pretty good instinct. I probably would have dodged you and let you fall all the way.
Don't drink before you come in.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you okay? You need to stretch or anything?
I need to stretch for the show. I can maybe some yoga.
Yeah,
some yoga exercises.
Mother
right?
Trucker Yoga can help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. So simple to do. You should be doing it.
Man, what a zoo yesterday. You know what I was thinking? You said this a long time ago. That society is getting to be like 1,000 kids in a gym screaming.
Yeah, it is. And social media is that now every day.
Yeah.
You know, it's social media on a slow day. There aren't any slow days anymore. But back in the day, when there was a slow day on social media, it was like going over to that friend's house and he's watching soap operas with his mom. And you're going, what the hell is going on? What are you doing, dude? What's going on? Everybody snap out of it. You know, wanting something to happen, especially in our business. It's like, come on, there's got to be something to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like opening the door. If I launch the app on my phone for X, it's like opening the door to that gymnasium where 1,000 kids are screaming at the same time, screaming something different, each of them at the same time. And it's like, okay, all right, I'll come back later after nap time. But yeah, it is. It's just getting over the top insane right now. I love it. I would rather you and I love diving right into the middle of it. I would rather have that than the nothing days where there's not much news going on, blah, blah, blah.
No, but
because,
go ahead.
What it tells me is and we've had this problem with far too many Republicans, and we were trying to, I don't know, that seemed like a just this endless effort of trying to get them motivated to do something. Come on, do something. Snap out of it. Instead, they're sitting with their mom watching a soap opera and not getting anything done, not doing anything, not being proactive enough on the issues is the point. And it's, now things are getting done left and right. And, of course, the left, we talked about this before the election. In fact, long before the election, we said, if he wins again, if Trump wins again in 24, the left is just going to go over the top insane. It's going to be ramped up to the nth degree, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And that's what a lot of that noise is. It's the back and forth from the reaction to what's going on with the Trump administration. Of course, in recent days, it's been the reaction of the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the left's insanity and how they are, and then yesterday, Luigi.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw the headlines on it
Yeah.
about the groups out there supporting him.
Yeah.
But there was so much stuff. I just read the headline and moved on from it. But I
Right.
understood what was going on.
Well, because-
but I'm so glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget that part of the insane day that it was yesterday.
Right. I mean, and it's, these two very similar cases of the assassination of Brian Thompson and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. They're very similar in nature. And the response by the left is very similar. And they can just now justify murder. Well, what do you expect? When they start and don't value life, if they're willing to murder a baby in the womb, then what life along the way has value to them? They can come up with any excuse to say, nope, don't like that person. They don't get to live. And, that's the real insanity. And I'd say, in that gymnasium filled with 1,000 screaming kids, it's best to pay attention. I don't want those kids to, especially the ones on the left, to shut up. We need to know exactly who the radicals are. We need to have the table set clearly. And by the way, I think the Democrats, I think the people on the left who aren't necessarily that over the top crazy need to also see this.
Well, did you see the polling out there? The YouGov poll. More people believe the person who killed. This is Sunday now. Was the last day of the poll. More people believe that the person who killed Charlie Kirk was mostly motivated by. Wait a minute here. Okay, well, I read it the opposite. More people believe the person who killed Charlie Kirk was mostly motivated by left-wing beliefs and think the shooter was mostly motivated by right-wing ones. I was just doing this here because I saw it right before we went on the air because National Review said there was a don't believe the lies, and they said that the YouGov poll out there, that the YouGov poll showed that more people believe that it was Republican motivated. And that's not what it says here. Most people believe that those who killed Charlie Kirk was mostly motivated by left-wing beliefs and think the shooter was motivated by right-wing, 37-17. 16% think the shooter was motivated by something other than political beliefs, and 30% aren't sure.
Yeah.
Two-thirds of okay. They're talking about Democrats. All right. Two-thirds of Republicans think Kirk's killer was motivated by left-wing beliefs. 4% say right-wing beliefs. 11% say something else other than politics. 16% aren't sure. Democrats were more mixed. 10% said the killer was motivated by left-wing beliefs. Only 10% of Democrats believe that. 33% say right-wing beliefs. 20% say something more than politics. 37% aren't sure. This is something that we talked about yesterday. When you keep pushing a lie over and over and over and over and over and over again, and when you do it to children, and as we believe, this is one of the reasons that the left, you see the absolute hatred towards Charlie Kirk, which is mind-boggling because if you know Charlie Kirk, even the liberals that knew him went, you got this wrong. Stop it.
Yeah.
That basically, and we've talked about the left and Democrats and this happening, they just follow the memes.
Yeah. No, they do.
They follow the memes. They follow the slogans.
They grab a
actually don't
handful
look.
of words and run with them and repeat them.
And so what they were saying in the National Review is that more Democrats believe, a third say it's right-wing beliefs. Only 10% say the killer was motivated by left-wing beliefs. Now, that was Sunday, but even by Sunday, it was obvious what it was.
Yeah.
It was absolutely obvious.
Yeah.
And now it's absolutely obvious without question. So now what you saw yesterday was a turn in the media to somehow have sympathetic views towards the suspected assassin.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's just, and it's totally and completely bizarre. But when you talk about to get back to the original thing about Luigi, it's not because we saw what happened there. But let's get to this audio cut here. This is ABC's report. Okay, here we go.
All right.
ABC yesterday. This is one of the ones you just shake your head going, what the hell's going on? So here we go.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself. With
What the hell is that?
Wow.
They had a very touching relationship. Understand the very touching relationship that they had.
I mean, I don't recall any of that surrounding the case of Jeffrey Dahmer. But he just wanted to have a relationship with these people, the victims that he had. And you know, it was inevitable, though, that the left would go there.
Well,
when the text messages were released yesterday, and you read through them, it was inevitable that the activist media, oh, look, see, he's a real person. Look, he cares. Cares enough to murder.
Here's CNN, Scott Jennings and Montel Williams.
No.
What a tool this guy is. Here we go.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left-wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascist on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me.
Just delusional. Absolutely delusional. Because you read in the text, and the roommate, the person that he was in a relationship with, seemed to be kind of shocked that he did it.
You know, I go back to 10 years ago when you and I talked about the danger of the radical transgender movement. And even our listeners, not all, but listeners would respond and say, you guys are making too much of it. Well, we've seen the brainwashing that happened over a period of the last decade.
Yeah.
We see the insanity of the absolute insanity of the radical transgender movement. And I have to say this, unfortunately, totally unfortunately, we were right.
Yeah.
And I hate the fact that we were right.
No, it's a good point. I would love to have, much rather have been in the place where we are today and then said, and had callers going, see, it didn't happen that way. It didn't play out that way. But it was inevitable that it was going to get to this.
Right. When you sell such a big lie, and then everything that went with it, the hatred, sorry, there's no debate on this.
No.
And if you don't agree with something that's completely and totally, I'm sorry, beyond acid delusion and hallucinations.
Yeah.
These kind of things happen. You know, a lot of people were paying attention to the Rutgers survey that with the research that was done and updated, I guess, in June. talking about the number of people that are self-identified on the left that believe that assassination for things that they disagree with are right. But what do they disagree with? They disagree with all the lies that have been told to them.
Right.
And by the way, it's on them. It's up to you. Just because somebody that you respect says something doesn't mean you don't fact check it. But they don't care. But what in the hell? I think it was John Roberts on with I got mind blank here. The former congressman from South Carolina, who's got the Fox show. Got mind blank here.
Trey Gowdy?
Yeah, Trey Gowdy. Yeah, I'm with him going, what the hell's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And looking at it, and I guess in the research it said Blue Sky, what's going on in Blue Sky, they believe a lot of the rot is on there. Now, remember, this wasn't done. Rutgers is not a conservative or, anything close to a conservative organization or a conservative educational outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen by the polls themselves, self-identified lefts, a lot more believe that assassination is acceptable. Where the hell did that come from in the United States?
Again, when you degrade the value of life to nothing, we're here. And now we'll just decide what life doesn't matter, which life doesn't matter.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Did you know that up to half of all major engine failures are due to poor cooling system maintenance? That's a lot of downtime and can cost drivers big. You expect a lot from your engine, which is why the cooling system must be a part of your maintenance routine. Here's a tip to keep your cooling system in shape and your engine running smooth. Most cooling system issues are due to lack of coolant caused by leaks. Perform a pressure test to make sure no leaks are present. While this may cause the system to fail, you want it to fail in the shop, not on the road. If your pressure test uncovers any leaks in the system, have them repaired by a professional technician immediately.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. And again, you sit back and you look at the things that are being said by the mainstream media, the left, Democrats, whatever. None of it's surprising because I get more response saying, "How can they be so delusional?" And you and I just look at each other and say, "What do you think's been going on for the last decade?"
Yeah.
It's the only thing that they know.
It's like we've been screaming up till now and nobody's been listening.
Yeah.
How delusional they are. Truly delusional. We don't just throw the word around.
No.
They're delusional and they are activists to the very bitter end. The ABC reporter, well, forget about the assassination. Let's look at the love story. Montel Williams, the same thing.
How do you get there?
Because you have to be
right.
an activist first, and you have to be pro-trans first. And quite frankly, nobody's pushing you to be anti-murder on the left.
No.
Quite sadly today.
Yeah.
It's quite the opposite.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose.
Thank you, truck drivers. It is National Truck Driver Appreciation Week, but for many, many, many years, hopefully you understand, all of us here at Red Eye Radio and our sponsors, thank you every single day for the thankless job that you do. Without you, the economy stops, and we certainly want to recognize that and recognize some drivers that have been out there on the road, including Tony in Richmond. Tony in Richmond hauls the mail and loves that gig. Tony, thank you for being out there. He says he's a longtime listener. Michael in Iowa hauls in the agricultural industry. He says he hauls agricultural supplies, and you know what? In Iowa, they use them. He's an owner-operator with 18 years behind the wheel. Shelly in Arizona, she's been driving for 14 years. Her father helped her get started in trucking. That's the case with a lot of great drivers out there. Shelly, thank you. And thank you to all of the truck drivers who are out there. We know it hasn't been the greatest few years here when it comes to rates and everything else, and you keep rolling, you keep America moving. You're the backbone of the economy, and we say thank you. We've got some sponsors that would also like to be a part of this and say thank you as well. Shell Rotella, Denny's, House Products, and the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. Thank you, truckers.
Wow. Robert Redford died yesterday.
Yeah.
89, I think. 87, 89.
You know, it was interesting because I was scrolling through a page and just saw the first story I saw wasn't, breaking news. Robert Redford had died. It's Robert Redford's life in pictures. And I said, well, to myself, they only do that when someone passes away. And then it just started hitting over and over and over again. But a pretty long list there at IMDb. You mentioned it before. A river runs through it.
What a great movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, he directed that movie. The cinematography is just, if you haven't seen the movie, I think you should. It's a great movie. I was looking at something about a bunch of stuff about Montana on there. And they talk about even today, people come to Montana because of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was about a family growing up in Montana in the early 1900s. Brad Pitt was in it. I just hang on one second here. Just get the other Brad Pitt. Craig Sheffer, who was great. Tom Skerritt. Who was just great in that movie. And it's about a family. Tom Skerritt's the father, and he is a minister in, I think it's Missoula, because I know they talk about Missoula. But it's a wonderful, the character development is incredible. And I got to say this, Brad Pitt is fantastic.
A friend of mine worked with Brad Pitt in his first movie, Thelma and Louise. My friend is a stunt driver, and he's at lunch with Brad Pitt at the, craft table or whatever, and says, look, the acting thing, everybody wants to be an actor, but I can get you work every day as a stuntman. You're athletic and the whole thing. and believe me, you're not going to get acting roles just because you look like a young Robert Redford.
Yeah, he did, though. Yes, he did.
And he said to Mike, no thanks. I like what I'm doing. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But it's been the case. I don't know how many comparisons there have been over the years, just kind of tongue-in-cheek. Brad Pitt's entire career has been doing a Robert Redford impression, basically. It's just because they look similar, but they kind of have similar acting styles.
Yeah, they do. I would agree with that.
With few exceptions, I would say.
Yeah. That movie, there's two scenes, just the cinematography. If you've ever seen the movie, one is where they're it's just a very quick thing where they're fishing off the pier.
Yeah.
and the mountain and the sun behind it is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Brad Pitt comes up in that car and he stands up to talk to his brother, who's played by Craig Sheffer, and his soon-to-be girlfriend and wife, that was played by Emily Lloyd, and he stands up. I mean, they had to wait the entire day probably to get that photo.
Yeah.
Because the sun is setting right behind him. I mean, it's perfect. You look at that in high definition, you're like, my God, Redford knew how to, get that scene.
Right.
And it had to be perfect because that was the cinematography in that is just perfect. But for me, Robert Redford, movie-wise, is 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And probably not like everybody else, but The Natural, and not because it's a baseball movie or not, I do love a lot of baseball movies out there. They filmed it in Buffalo. And my buddy Jack that I talk about, remember my buddy Jack who I always said looks like a hippie.
Mm-hmm.
And as a guy, first time I met him, somebody said, "Hey Jack, what's up?" He goes, "Oh, I got my work boots on, my work shoes, my work hat, my work, whatever, everything." And he says, "I'm heading to the welfare office." That's how I met Jack, and I always thought he was a liberal, and he was as conservative as you can get. But Jack worked on that movie. So, but it's everywhere, all the different scenes from Buffalo, from the Ellicott Square building to the old War Memorial Stadium to Parkside Candies. I mean, everything. You watch that movie, and if you're from Buffalo, you're like, wow, 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 wow. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
And then for me, my first, and I know he did movies beforehand, but the one Redford movie that caught me was 3 Days of the Condor.
Right.
I just love that movie. Absolutely love that movie. I watched it. It was free on some streaming service. Watched it about 6 months ago. And I just went, wow. And I hadn't watched it in years. I'm like, what a great movie.
Spy Game from 2001. Speaking of Brad Pitt.
Oh, what a great movie. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes.
If you just want to watch a good spy movie.
No, that is a great movie.
Go watch that movie. I mean, there's so much. It's just, if you're really into the spy movies, it's one of those that's like, all right, this one gets, very involved and has the twists and turns and everything else. Really great.
Wow.
Also a lesson in what to do and what not to do with your retirement money. But it's your money. Who cares, right? It's a very good movie. It's one of my favorite. Because it's one of those that's, it's an action movie. It's going to kind of keep you on the edge.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot one of my favorite. See, he's done so many movies, you forget about it. All the President's Men. I mean, I remember seeing that. I saw it at the movie theater. But Sneakers, I love. You ever see Sneakers?
Yeah.
Sneakers is a great adventure movie. Sneakers is great, and from 1972. And I forgot. I was thinking that the first experience. He's done so many movies. I forgot just there. I thought it was 3 Days of the Condor. That wasn't the one that got me, and it wasn't Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Jeremiah Johnson. You ever see it?
I think I saw it as a kid. I don't remember.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It is a great movie.
Yeah.
He's a mountain man. It just follows him,
Yeah.
Will Geer's in it.
Yeah.
Will Geer.
Yep.
And Will wasn't smoking pot in it.
Right.
Will Geer was the grandfather on the Waltons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I love that. Again, now he was. I don't know who. I think he just acted in it. I don't think he. Let me see. Sidney Pollack did that. Oh, wow. Because the cinematography there is just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, wow. You go through. When I start going through, then all the different movies that he was in, you realized, from the time that I was a teenager till now, there was something that I relate to. Every single decade, there was a movie that...
I remember seeing The Sting as a kid.
I still have never seen that movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen The Sting.
It's a great movie.
I've never seen
it.
I gotta. So you suggest I watch it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to watch that one. Yeah. I like that one.
Oh.
The Great Gatsby.
And you can't forget, he also directed The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yep. That was a great job as director.
It was.
That pulled you in. You almost felt like you were there.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
I don't golf. I'd have no desire to be there, but it pulls you in.
You have no interest in golf.
I have,
and you
but
watch
it was.
it, yeah.
But that's when a movie can, just like Cinderella Man. Oh, the boxing movie? No, you're missing the point. Or Signs. Oh, the Alien movie? You're also missing the point.
Yeah, you're missing it. Yeah.
When it can rise above that, if you watch the movie and it's like, oh, that wasn't really about that. That was about, more. But the focus was on something different. Yeah, there was some golf in it, or there was some boxing in it, or there were aliens in it. That's what we need to do.
And
A movie where aliens come down and take up boxing and golf.
Well, the end of that movie where Jack Lemmon is, and this again, where I talk about Redford as a director and the cinematography. When he's walking down, you remember the fairway, and this is after the story's over.
Yeah.
But it's when, basically he's walking down the fairway, and it's when he has his heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, it's Jack Lemmon is not seen throughout the entire movie. He's basically the older, the little kid, kid who's ends up being the caddy, and was the caddy for Captain Juna, and he's walking down the fairway, basically having his heart attack, but you don't see it. You just see him walking down the fairway, and there's Will Smith with the sun behind him, because Will Smith was the supernatural figure in that movie.
Right.
You know what it was? It was sort of, I just thought about this now. It was sort of Field of Dreams for golf.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about that now.
Yeah.
Wow. But did some, and probably tomorrow there'll be another. I'm going, oh, yeah, I forgot about that movie. And forgot about that movie. And forgot about that movie.
Yeah. No, just scrolling through his IMDb here is, look, it's quite a list when it comes to movies. Wow.
And who was the woman in A River Runs Through It? I just can't think of her name at the moment. Oh. Not A River Runs Through It. Bagger Vance. Oh, I just can't, because she was.
Yeah, I don't recall.
She's a nutcase in real life, but she was really, really, really good in that movie. Charlize Theron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's a nutcase in real life.
Yeah.
But she was great in that. All right. Coming up, the Social Perception Lab. We talked about this a couple of days ago, but it seems that finally a ton of people caught on to it. The assassination culture. This was research that was done by Rutgers and the Network Contagion Research Institute, actually doing a study on the assassination culture that exists today. And really this came up after Luigi, Mangione.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they did this, because they're like, what's going on? Is there something here to this? And they're like, after the research, yeah, there is.
Wow.
We brought you part of it the other day. It seemed to catch on in the media yesterday, so if you didn't hear us talk about it, we want to bring it up again following the top of the hour, because it's like, it's insanity.
Yeah, it is.
For the United States of America, for that number of people, because when you extrapolate it out, you're talking about tens of millions of Americans believe in an assassination culture.
Yep.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. The mainstream media, the misinformation, the disinformation, the lies, the whatever you want to say concerning the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's just really, really amazing. We'll get to more of the details on it. I mean, it's amazing, but it's expected. Nothing really has shocked me here. What happened is shocking, incredibly shocking, and evil and immoral. But the response from the left is what I'm saying is not surprising to me.
Right, yeah.
We'll get to that coming up.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. Well, we had brought it up yesterday about Attorney General Bondi talking about hate speech. Man, she got blasted yesterday by, I don't care whether you were a moderate Republican, a conservative Republican, MAGA Republican, or whatever. It was across the board that what she talked about on hate speech, and she clarified it yesterday. She said hate speech that crosses a line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. Well, that's not what you said. As National Review said, maybe, next time before you do a podcast on Charlie Kirk, you ought to listen to a Charlie Kirk podcast.
Yeah.
Because as we said, he would not want to at all ever ban hate speech. And it got pretty brutal, even from MAGA at her, saying, does she have a clue? Does she pay attention? This, and that wasn't the only thing. The other thing that she had said at a separate time yesterday is, what was it, the one printing place where people went in to get a Charlie Kirk poster, and they refused to do it?
Right.
And she said, we're going to go after you. And it was brought up. It's like, well, there's nothing to go after. You can do that. That's the whole bake a cake.
Right.
You cannot, if they come in and they don't do it because of your skin color, but if you come in and say, I want this poster to promote this, they don't have to do it.
Right.
And it's like you had, whether it was MAGA, whether it was friends of Charlie Kirk, or, any other Republican or conservative out there, they're like, does she have a clue what the law is? And what the law that conservatives and Republicans actually agree to?
The whole free speech thing, I'm shocked that it wasn't clarified immediately, because when you say it, you should be listening to what you're actually saying yourself and correct it right away to say, whoa. Anything that applies to the law, of course, we're going to enforce the law. But that's not what she said.
No.
She made it seem like, again, like liberals want to, we're going to go after hate speech, and the government will deem whatever hate speech is.
And even her response, she didn't say, oops, sorry, I didn't complete my thought.
Right.
It was like, well, this is what I meant. It's not what you said.
Nope.
And that was pointed out in the responses from people, but you didn't say that. What you said was hate speech. You didn't say hate speech that crosses the lines into threats of violence, which we talked about yesterday, inciting a riot, things like that, threats which aren't protected. You didn't say that. You said hate speech.
Right.
And she, in her response, what I got out of her response was, come on, stop being stupid. This is what I meant. But it's not what you said.
Not what you said.
Like she was very irritated that it was brought up. But she did at least, we said she has to clarify that.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing was the number of people that claimed that they knew Charlie Kirk saying, before you say stuff based on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, understand what his point of view was.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you should, you claim that you're, that you knew him, whatever. Well, did you know what he believed? That's what was so bizarre about it.
Right.
And I think that following the whole Epstein thing just ticked off a ton of people. But I was amazed across the board from the Republican Party, from moderate to conservative. It was like to moderate to conservative to ultra super MAGA. It didn't matter. It was like, do you have a clue? Stop it. Pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounded like it was coming out of the mouth of a liberal attorney general. It sounded like something a liberal would say in that moment. The liberals who have been celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, it wouldn't shock me to hear someone in office somewhere say, well, we're gonna keep going after hate speech. Of course, accusing Charlie Kirk of hate speech. That's why it was so bizarre. It's like, again, I was waiting for the moment. I watched it a few times. It's like watching a movie, expecting it to end differently every time. And I'm like, okay, right there, right after you said it, how did you not immediately correct that? Because that's what critical thinking is. If you misspeak, you need to clarify now. Instead of coming out the next day and going, oh, what's wrong with all you people? Of course I meant this. Not good. Not good at all. You lost some critical thinker points with me, for sure.
Yeah, it was, you shake your head in a number of things. First off, not knowing the law. Yeah. Number two, not knowing that what law conservatives and Republicans absolutely agree with. And number three, by saying it in relation to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, clearly not understanding what Charlie Kirk thought about the whole concept of hate speech.
Right.
So it wasn't just one thing, it was three.
Well, it was again, sounded like something coming out of someone on the far left.
Yeah.
It sounded like someone on the far left made an AI of Pam Bondi.
That's a great point.
And quite unfortunately, no, that was Pam Bondi. Yeah.
So here we go. The Rutgers University Social Perception Lab. We did this last week, but it seemed that a lot of in the conservative media just recognized it yesterday. And I know there was an update. I believe in June after the Mangione thing, and they say, and this is Rutgers University Social Perception Lab. Assassination culture, how burning Teslas and killing billionaires became a mean aesthetic for political violence. Here's just read their introduction. Political violence targeting Donald Trump and Elon Musk is becoming increasingly normalized following the July 13, 2024 assassination attempt of President Trump. Tolerance and even advocacy for political violence appears to have surged, especially among politically left-leaning segments of the population. The pattern builds on the broader trend identified in two December 2024 reports, which analyzed how viral social media narratives were legitimizing political violence, particularly in the aftermath of the United Healthcare CEO's assassination. The reports found widespread justification for lethal violence, including assassination among younger, highly online, and ideologically left-aligned users. The spillover effect into offline domains is already occurring, as illustrated by a ballot measure recently submitted in California that was named the Luigi Mangione Access to Healthcare Act. A broader assassination culture appears to be emerging within segments of the United States public on the extreme left. The research empirically assessed this shift with original survey data and open source intelligence analysis to assess how normalized and justified violence against the administration has become in the public discourse. The findings signal a threat to political stability and public safety. Key data points include murder justification. 31% and 31% and 38% of respondents stated it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk and President Trump. These effects were driven by respondents that self-identified as left as center, with 48% at least somewhat justifying the murder for Elon Musk and 55% at least somewhat justifying the murder of President Trump, respectively. Property destruction. Nearly 40% of respondents stated it is at least somewhat acceptable to destroy a Tesla dealership in protest. Psychological, ideological correlations with the assassination culture. These beliefs are highly correlated with one another, as well as with the justification of the murder of the United Healthcare CEO and hyper-partisan left-wing ideology. We hypothesize that support for violence is part of a broader assassination culture underpinned by psychological and ideological factors. Our analysis supports the belief that Blue Sky plays a significant and predictive role in amplifying radical ideation. Users are increasingly associated the memification of Luigi Mangione with calls for political violence against Musk, Trump, and others, reflecting a cyber-social pressure of assassination culture. Wow. Wow. To assess the support for political violence, we surveyed 1,264 residents, balanced to reflect census data on race, ethnicity, gender, age, and education. Respondents were asked demographic information, political identity, several political and psychological scales, and questions concerning their acceptance of specific forms of political violence. The survey revealed several troubling trends. Over half of those who self-identified as left of center, 56%, reported that if someone murdered Donald Trump, they would at least be somewhat justified. Similar proportions supported murdering Musk and destroying Tesla dealerships. This includes 14.1% who said this murder would be completely justified. Similarly, half, 50.2% of those who self-identified as left of center said the murder of Elon Musk would be somewhat justified, with about 10.7% saying this is completely justified. Over one-third of all respondents believe it is at least somewhat acceptable to destroy Tesla dealerships to protest Elon Musk's involvement in the presidential administration. So you add that up. You're talking about tens of millions of Americans left of center that believe assassination is somewhat justifiable for Mangione, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and based on what? Everything that they bring up is a lie.
Yep.
It's all brought up on the lie. You repeat something, you repeat a lie over and over again, and you brainwash a significant number of people.
Well, you build the fear to the point that you're telling people these individuals are inherently dangerous to them. You've got to make them believe that they're in danger. And you also have to make sure that they do not value life. And once you've got those two in play, all bets are off. We're seeing it play out right now.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
reprehensible.
I don't know where it ends because this slippery slope can't possibly end in a good place.
No.
And I don't know how you reverse it. It would require a significant millions of people on the left coming out and saying no more.
Well, you see the left, as you saw it. We played the audio earlier. We'll play it again because it's just the most bizarre thing. You see them trying to make the suspected assassin premeditated murder. You're talking the death penalty in Utah for what the alleged assassin, if found guilty, could face.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make him a sympathetic figure.
Right.
That this is somebody, this could have been his first love. He's in love. I mean, this is
Right.
love.
Right.
And Charlie Kirk was attacking his love as if somehow that justifies it. And that's what you've seen going on. We came in Monday, and that's the first thing we said. Wow. I said, Eric, they're trying to make the case, well, Charlie Kirk said this. And then it's like 99% of what they're saying isn't true. They take it out of context completely. But it really, that's not the point. The point is they're searching to justify with their peers and others that if you say something that someone dislikes, that justifies their murder.
Yes. Anything to justify murder.
How the hell did we get here? Well, I know how we got here. I don't want to say that because I know exactly
And with
how we
Brian
got
Thompson, the same thing.
here. Yeah.
Well, you have to understand, AOC said, that when people get their health care claims denied, they see that as an act of violence.
Right.
She's justifying the murder of Brian Thompson.
Yep. 866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so-called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Fox News outside the courtroom where Luigi Mangione was yesterday. Here's a supporter of Mangione. Here we go.
Consider him a hero?
Yes, 100%.
But he's charged with murder.
Oh, well, we're hoping in a glimmer of hope that changes.
How sick. How absolutely sick.
We're hoping he'll get away with it.
Yeah.
That's the translation right there. We're hoping he'll get away with it.
Because the argument is not he's innocent and didn't do it.
Right.
The argument is it's self-defense.
It's justifiable.
Yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, you and I talked about people like Douglas Schoen, the Democratic pollster, Roy Teixeira, who runs the Liberal Patriot, and both of them saying that, you know, really, especially over the last year and a half, that, look, Democrats got to become more moderate. They've got to stop going down this path of insanity. Well, they can't stop it.
No.
And now it's about, on the left, the justification of murder. And when you look at, as we had played earlier from CNN, I mean, it's the most unbelievable thing that you could possibly imagine. You can't believe that it's happening. I think most people can't believe it's happening. We can, because we saw this coming down the pike. But so many people are out there just going, how did this get to this point? This is John Roberts on yesterday on Fox News, looking at that study that was done by Rutgers. Here we go.
Right.
Just a moment ago, this combination study by Rutgers University and the Network Contagion Research Institute that shows that there is a role of social media in assassination culture and that is prevalent on the left. The study said this, quote, the data reveal a structured endorsement of political violence targeting figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk. These attitudes are not fringe. They reflect an emergent assassination culture. Cyber social platforms, particularly Blue Sky, play a strong predictive role in amplifying this culture.
As we had talked about earlier, and then you get to this. I want to play this again. I want to play the full audio cut. We played part of it to start the show. This is Scott Jennings on CNN, and listen to Montel Williams here. Just unbelievable. Here we go.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it?
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left-wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascist on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me. So I'm just telling you, there is an effort. There was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
It's a number of things that are motivating these people, these delusional people, like Montel Williams and others on the left, the ABC reporter. number one agenda. You've got to be pro-trans before you can be anti-murder. That's what you're seeing here. And it's no different than the crazy people on TikTok screaming in glee over the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It is grotesque in every single way. I don't even know how brain works like what you just heard from Montel Williams. A young person in love. You're delusional. There's something very wrong with you if you can't look at this and say, I can't believe anybody could justify for any reason the political assassination of a person.
When you see, and I think because Scott Jennings laid it out, there was this whole effort to try to label him as a conservative, and that didn't work. And now it's this poor boy that was in his first love.
Yeah.
And this wasn't hate. It was emotional because you were attacking in his young love, his first love. I mean, my God, when you think about it, but it does show, and I am actually happy that the left isn't holding back.
Yeah.
Because the whole part, and this is why we're against hate speech laws. I want people to tell me what they truly feel.
Yep.
Because then I can prepare myself. Millions of Americans are looking now at this new assassination culture and saying, uh-oh, this actually exists out there. There's denials. You know, when you think about it, we had hit that Rutgers University poll back in April, but it didn't go anywhere. You know, the mainstream media is not going to cover it. And now, when that study comes out saying, look, this is what the left wing's about. This is what's going on in Blue Sky. These aren't people on the left that wish to debate, you know, how we should fund Social Security or, you know, the Fed later on today, what the Fed rate should be.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't economic discussions or discussions of how big should the federal government be? Should the states have more responsibility? Let's talk federalism. Let's talk the three branches of government. Let's have a debate. We're on Blue Sky here because we're here in order to all unite together to figure out what our message is so we can debate and win against the left. It's no. They're Hitler. They deserve to die.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep.
There is no wanting to debate, as we have stated. Now, by the way, we stated this way before the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
We've said this for the longest time. We could see it coming. We're in the arena of ideas, and all of a sudden, boom, over the last few years, liberals don't want to argue anymore. Now, The reason they don't is because they can't sell anything. Nothing is based on logic. Nothing is based on critical thinking. It's based on insanity, which is why we said a long time ago, where even some of our own listeners said, come on, guys, this isn't going to go anywhere. And we said, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If it continues this way, if nobody stands up and says this is ridiculous, it's going to continue. You know, you had in the summer of 2020, with no evidence at all, it was accepted. And we believe it was the blue wave, as we call it, of intimidation. Corporation sports leagues, that police departments were systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. There's no evidence that existed out there, yet that was the major narrative that everybody bought into. And then the same thing with the radical transgender movement, that a boy can be a girl if the boy wants to. and we can threaten. They have mainstreamed. What the hell do you think is going to happen when you mainstream racism and misogyny in a political party? And I don't say that to demonize them and get you angry at them to commit any acts of violence. We're simply telling you the truth. We're telling you this is what they stand for. This is what they promote. This is what identity politics is about. And you have had Republicans, especially long-term Republicans, come out and say, this has got to stop. You can't do this anymore. As we played the Mark Halperin podcast the other day, and the Democrats on the panel saying, you can't call Trump Hitler. Number one, it's not good politically. Number two, it's not true. We think it should be reversed. It should be, number one, it's not true. And number two, that's why it's bad politics. Mm-hmm. But it was the opposite. But they understand. Democrats know. When Tim Ryan ran for Speaker of the House back in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
Wow. So we're going back 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He said this is wrong. We cannot do this. We cannot have a political party that is always attempting to divide. Everything that you and I have talked about, what's wrong with the left and what's wrong with the Democratic Party, this is what the expected result, everything that you have seen, and I'm not talking about just the individual who assassinated Charlie Kirk. It's the totality of the response of the left, of the media, to justify it in some way. And this is what you're going to get from a political party where identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals. What the hell do you think you got from racism in this country? What do you think you got from the KKK? What do you think you got from the white supremacist groups? That's why you and I have always said, and if there's ever an opportunity for the Republicans not to be on the defensive, it's now. And it should always be from this point on that you promote what Charlie Kirk was promoting. And I'm telling this to the Republicans, you need to promote the message of Kirk all the time.
Yeah.
Which is, we believe in the individual. We don't believe that you're part of a group. You're an individual. You're an autonomous
We've been
individual.
saying this for years.
Exactly. And that's why, if I'm animated now, that's why, because we have focused so much and broke down what the actual belief system is. And the only reason you get to the point where you've got the majority that are on the left of center that believe that assassination of Trump, and almost half that believe the assassination of Elon Musk would be justified, or at least partially justified. Mm-hmm. What do you think you get when you have a major political party that has practiced for decades now? Really, I believe since the late 80s when conservative talk radio got big, and then you had, as we saw at that point, you had black conservatives come out, and that's when it really started. Well, they're Uncle Tom, they're this, they're not really black, blah, 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 that you can't be an individual. That's where it started in this. Here's where it's ended up now.
Yep.
And it's not a coincidence. It's because that's what the Democratic Party has taught them. They've taught them that racism is acceptable, and with the radical transgender movement, that the threatening of women, the misogyny of women is okay. We don't know of one Democrat besides Fetterman that came out and attempted to defend the women of the Ivy League that were being threatened. Their careers were being threatened. Their schooling was being threatened if they did not go along with the insanity of the radical transgender movement. And if you're not for identity politics, you can't be a part of the Democratic Party.
Right.
You don't judge people by groups. If you want to judge them by individuals, if you say that's a major fault in the party, you're out.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's reprehensible, it's evil, it's immoral, everything that has happened. But, man, I'm telling you.
And it's become more grotesque
Right.
as it goes along.
We
This justification because, well, he was just in love. Look at the exchange between the two. Isn't that sweet?
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yep. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Also, a new poll out there, majority of Democratic voters align with socialism over capitalism, and they prefer the far-left candidates, which is why they're not going to change. We said this all along. You know, we said this because I had mentioned Roy Teixeira and what's his name, Douglas Schoen, who both back last year said if Democrats want to win the presidency, they got to change, they got to moderate. They can't continue to do this. And we said, well, that's not going to happen because it's not what they believe.
Right.
What you're seeing now is what they actually believe.
Yeah, this is who they are.
Yeah.
They're not going to change.
We'll get to that and more all on the way.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Socialism has become the mainstream of the Democratic Party, according to a new survey funded by Socialist. Democratic Socialist of America Fund paid for a survey conducted by Data for Progress, which shows that a majority of Democrats prefer socialism over capitalism and back far-left candidates such as Zoran Mandami and AOC. Politico first reported. What the mainstream of the party wants is both democratic socialism as a value system and democratic socialist politicians, claimed Gabe Tobias, executive director of the Democratic Socialist of America Fund. By the way, they should take the Democratic out of it. Really.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they want.
No, it isn't.
Mm-hmm. That's what the delusional voter might want. Well, I want the government to control all of industry, but in a democratic system.
Right.
I don't believe in property rights anymore, but in a democratic system.
Where my vote counts, like they do in Venezuela.
Right. The survey found that more than half, 53% of likely Democratic voters prefer socialists like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Mandami. 33% back establishment Democrats like Schumer, Jeffries, Pelosi. Yeah, but Jeffries is a socialist, and so is Pelosi, and so is Schumer.
Yeah.
They just didn't believe that it was politically viable to go there.
Right. Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could go there, they would.
They built the bridge for it. I'll say that for Pelosi and Schumer. Neither of them are young enough to walk across the bridge anymore. But they built it for the other generation.
I wonder if Teixeira or Douglas Schoen have written an article lately that,
this?
Yeah, okay, apparently they're not doing what we've advised them to do.
Well, it's again, if you're suggesting that, well, what they need to do is you're ignoring the nature of the beast. You're ignoring the fact that it took decades to get to this point through indoctrination, through something that you cannot reverse in just one political season, or quite frankly, in just a couple of years. They're not going to be able to turn this around. You told us that this is how it is, and we believe it. Now you're saying we got to go soft on Trump, that he's not a fascist, that people on the right aren't Hitler? What? See, that's the problem, one of the many problems, of teaching people this, indoctrinating young people to believe this, and driving fear in their hearts because they do believe it. This is a learned set of behaviors.
You know, it's funny because we go back to Charlie Kirk, who said, he said, really, the young people don't believe in socialism. They don't know what it is.
Right.
The older people do, but the younger people don't. They don't even understand what it is. You explain it to them, they go, we don't want that.
Well, I'd say that the radicals definitely are on board full stop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And and define socialism. I think if you talk to the average young person, I absolutely would agree that, well, if you explain to them what actual socialism is first, you have to actually explain to them, here's how it would work. And others would be making decisions in your life for you. Now, a significant portion of young people might go, okay, you're telling me I don't have to think for myself? Okay. I don't have to do for myself? Okay. And you're just going to go after the big evil corporations and the rich? And then you're going to send me what are they up to now on the monthly, basic monthly income?
I don't know.
1,000 is a joke.
Well, yeah, 1,000 a month. Come on.
Right.
No.
And sorry, Andrew Yang.
What?
That was so 2018.
5,000 a month?
I was going to go 10, but okay.
Well, again, when you look at socialism in the United States today and the promotion of it, again, it goes right back, I believe, to what Bernie Sanders was selling, and the only thing that really came out of Occupy Wall Street, which was, you can't make it in life, and your college should be paid for by billionaires because billionaires are keeping you from being a success.
Mm-hmm.
And they like that message. They look, everybody. I would never want somebody to say that you're a victim. To me.
Right.
Even if you can make the case that I was. And the reason would be it doesn't do me any good because I have no interest in any type of reparations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in money transfers, to me based on my victimhood.
Right, yeah.
All I've ever wanted is opportunity, which is freedom. The freedom to go after opportunity. That's all I've ever wanted.
Right.
We got into talking about, I told you I'd watched a few weeks ago the John Bon Jovi interview about the American dream. Is the American dream there? And the media was on that for about a month. Can you get the American dream? What is the American dream? And when I was looking at the American dream, everything was based on stuff. And I find it interesting that the left, where, well, we shouldn't be in this consumer society. Well, if you looked at what they viewed as the American dream, everything was about having stuff, to go back to George Carlin and stuff. That was never my American dream. Not that I didn't didn't want stuff. We all like some kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like a house, whatever. But that's not what I view as the American dream. That may come because of me having the freedom to go after opportunities. That might be a decision I make, and that's a result of the American dream, which is freedom, and then taking that freedom and going after the opportunity that exists out there. But the American dream, to me, has got nothing to do with that. It didn't when I was coming out of Jackson, Mississippi back in 1984, going to Marshall, Texas for a radio job, leaving the beautiful beaches of Navarre, Florida, and Fort Walton Beach, Pensacola, and having to go there because I wanted to be in radio more than anything. And some of my buddies said, come on, don't you want the beach life? You don't have to be in radio. You've got a bunch of different other things that you could do. And I went, nah, this is what I want. But you're going to a little town in East Texas. What are you doing? It's where I want to go. And everything that I owned was in my 1980 Pontiac Sunbird. And I had a credit card with nothing on it, $1,000 credit line, maybe a couple of $100 in my first month's rent paid, and my car was paid for. But everything I owned was in the vehicle. And I remember the moment of leaving Jackson, Mississippi, outside of Jackson, went around the loop, and then, there I am heading on I-20. And I remember being as happy as I could possibly be. And I thought at that moment, it's a moment I will always remember. I said, if I'm happy now, there's no reason for me to ever not be happy because I'm living the American dream. And the American dream is having opportunity, having freedom, and then going after the opportunity. And occasionally, every couple of years, I'll go back to Marshall, Texas, and see the foundation of the house, the little house I was in that must have been destroyed by fire, I think. Then the other one where, as I've always talked about, the cockroaches in the refrigerator and the fire ants coming through the floorboard, that house is still there. And I always look back at it and I just appreciate, everything that has happened. But that's that's my American dream. My American dream isn't stuff. And when your American dream isn't stuff, then you're not looking for the federal government to take care of you. Right. You're not saying, I'm not in control of my own destiny. I can't think of a worse place to be than people on the left, or anybody, whether you consider yourself on the left or right, but you have part of that pathology of dependency that's been part of your environment for whatever amount of your life it's been, that you don't believe that you're in control of your own destiny.
Right.
I can't imagine. I'm not saying that being in control of my own destiny, things didn't go wrong, or that I didn't do wrong, because I did. But even if I did, and even if things didn't go right, and even if I was treated unfairly, there was still another opportunity out there that I could, search for and go after and get it. Was it easy? No. But once you don't let fear stand in the way, once you embrace the fear of change, instead of being afraid of the fear, I'm afraid of the fear. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, and that's true.
And don't fear the Reaper.
And, well, I don't know if I fear it. I don't think I have a choice in that one. But for me, that's how it is. And I truly do feel terrible for people who believe that government is their salvation. I think that's a horrible place to be. I can't imagine being in that place, Eric.
Well, That's one heck of a basket to put all your eggs in.
That would be my hell. That's right. Gary, you did
If
wrong.
if that's the most hope you have.
Gary, you're dead, and this is your hell. You're going to be constantly begging for the government to take care of you. No!
And Joe Manchin is making all the decisions.
Oh, no. I have to listen to Joe Manchin talk. Oh, God.
He's going to talk endlessly about both sides and in the middle.
We're going to put you in a room with Mandami.
In the middle of the room.
In the middle of the room with Mandami, and he won't stop talking, and you want to respond, but nothing will come out of your vocal cords.
Yeah.
You can't respond to him.
That's right.
And he will just promote his socialist ideology about how he's going to take care of you.
Right.
And you are trying to say something.
And there won't be any vodka.
And there's no vodka, yeah. This will be socialism, communism without vodka.
Yeah.
But no, so I live in a different world, and I know you live in a different world than people that are caught up in the pathology of dependency. But to me, that would be the worst. That would be the absolute worst for me. But I've never been a person who has worked so I can afford vacations. I like golf, stuff like that. I've always, being productive in whatever way, being productive, artistic, whatever you want to call it, has always fascinated me. And the passion, I'll be 70 in 2 weeks. The passion has never left.
Wait a couple of weeks.
Well, I'm not saying I don't hurt. My ankle, you see me limping down the hallway before? The tendonitis really acted up.
Oh, is it? That's what happens when you nearly trip yourself trying to pick up your reading glasses.
Oh, gee, that happened
You
at the
need to
beginning of
be
the show,
careful.
too.
You really need to be careful.
Did you say be or pee careful? Both.
Be careful.
Oh, okay.
Probably pee careful, too.
Both might
I
apply
would
at
say
my age.
You should probably hold on to something. I mean, that would. I'm not an expert.
Look, I don't want to give the impression. I mean, yesterday I did 10 miles on the bike, and I did my resistance training and swam. I did the Gary triathlon.
You ever think about a stationary bike?
No, I hate the bike when I can have scenery.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate the machines. I hate every moment of doing it, but the reward is being able to golf and being able to not have any pain in the elbows or knees.
Mm-hmm.
The tendonitis in the ankle, I can't do anything about, but I guess I could, but they'd have to rip out muscle, and I'd be off my feet for like 6 to 9 months, and
yeah,
I can't afford to do that right now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do that right now because, unfortunately, for some stupid reason, idiotic reason, working with you has been the opportunity that freedom has given me. I guess forget about everything I just said over the last 20 minutes.
I was going to say, you want to reconsider?
Yeah. What a horrible life I've lived. This really sucks.
You should have the surgery.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. And, we get this question, well, what do we do about all this? Keep telling the truth.
Yep.
Keep telling the truth. Let the left keep talking.
Yep.
That's why we're at the place where Democrats have one of the lowest approval ratings they've had for a significant period of time, probably ever.
It's not that I really count or expect a number of rank-and-file Democrats to start voting Republican. But I think there's a good case to say more and more of them, I can't quantify it, we can only tell after elections, will not show up for the Democrats. And I'll take that for now. For them to open their eyes enough, and you saw a few prominent Democrats, that said, look, I can't do this anymore. And if that becomes a trend, at least to the point of not voting, I don't expect them to vote Republican. But if they just stay home, that's a real kind of protest until their party changes, which I don't expect to happen anytime in my lifetime. The radicalization of the far left will only grow. It will only continue. I can't tell you what's ahead, but it won't be them reversing. And it won't be the party itself saying, we want to separate ourselves and carve the radicals out from our group. That's not going to happen. So the party itself and the radicals will continue.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I guess this probably encompasses a lot of the mindset of, I think, critical thinking people who just say, yep, that's it. And this was written by actress Patricia Heaton, who wrote, "It is not lost on me that those celebrating Charlie Kirk's death because he was supposedly transphobic and homophobic, not true, are the same people who support Hamas and the Palestinians who are actually homophobic and transphobic. Make it make sense."
Yeah.
And we've known that for the longest time, the signs, queers for, Palestine. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
You shake your head. The only thing that I can, you try to put it together. Who knows, to get into each individual minds. It's funny because even when you probably can go through a couple of hours of Charlie Kirk talking to a number of the young college students who they themselves can't explain why they think the way that they think. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're just completely lost. It's they hear something and they jump on it. Now, there was a lot of responses to her saying, well, they both have something in common. They actually hate. You and I have actually said this, though, about the radical transgender movement, and we played, I think, late last week again, that audio cut from Josh Hawley talking to the Berkeley professor on the radical transgender movement, about radical transgenderism, what a transgender is. And we have said, you're assuming one thing. You're assuming that, and a lot of the people claiming this themselves don't claim to be trans, like the Berkeley professor.
Yeah.
But as we have stated, they actually don't care. They don't care if you're trans. They don't care. They're using you as a political tool.
Yes.
That's it. They really don't care, because if you really cared about anyone you wouldn't say, if you really sat there and said, I care about people that are trans or are confused at a young age. And we need to get them the help that we need to get them, because this is beyond me. We need the best professionals out there to try to help, these people. You don't say, no, the child should be able to cut their body parts off and take irreversible hormone treatment. That's the last thing that you would say. Now, you would have to admit, when they become an adult, they can do what they wish to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't hate anybody. In fact, I love everybody, which is why I'm concerned, because they're not talking science. And when you're not talking science, there's a problem right there. When you're making stuff up as you go along, it's not science. And if it's not science, what is it? Well, it's an attempt to get power and influence. If it's not science, if you're not promoting science in the political arena, but you're promoting pseudoscience, why are you doing it?
Well, it's all of this is built on a number of lies, as you mentioned, repeating the lies. And then when you ask them why they believe what they believe, they can't tell you.
Because I believe that those in power, not the confused college students, but those in power, or those in leadership roles in liberalism and Democrat institutions, they want power and control. So they'll BS you, they'll lie to you, they'll say whatever you want, they'll enable you, they'll lead you down a path of destruction. They don't care. They just want power and control.
Well, I believe what's behind, in fact, the fight, the legal fights for children to have the right to mutilate their own genitals, is so that the left can then get to a point, if they can win that legal battle, then they can, at that point, have greater control over your children. Because if you step in, because they're fighting for this,
right,
even if the parents disagree, which would mean that if the parents try to intervene, the state would have to intervene between the parents and the child. That kind of control for absolute indoctrination is what they're aiming for.
And that's what I see. If you wonder why it's going on, is the fact of, if you want power and control, you get them young. And you see
the
that,
younger the better,
right?
Because they realized indoctrination wasn't working, at the age of adolescence and then high school and then college. They had to get them younger. This is why they were fighting and are still fighting to put that kind of material in front of the eyes of 5-year-olds, and they're fighting legally right now, again, for children to be able to decide for themselves on surgery. They don't care about the children, clearly don't care about the children. What they want is the parents to not have the power over their own children.
Yeah, so I would expand it to Patricia Heaton to answer your question. I would expand it beyond just the transphobic or the homophobic. I would go to the entire point of critical race theory. Everything is to, number one, brainwash young people as young as you possibly can. And then continue the brainwashing through college. Now, what we're finding out is that it might have worked for a while at colleges, but in a free society, you have a ton of college students now revolting. Where the poll came out, was it the Pew Research poll that said the majority of students, even Democrat students, even those that call themselves liberal, reject what the professors believe because they're insane in their beliefs, but they go along just to get along so they can get out and get a job and do whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
That it's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. But it makes them extremely cynical. And as we have stated before, one of the reasons that Charlie Kirk gained so many is because there is something, any young person knows. They know when their parents are doing something that is unacceptable to them, trying to control their life. They object when their parents are doing something which is acceptable to a lot of other adults to discipline them, to ensure that they grow up to be responsible and productive adults. Yeah. So it can be the parents can be doing the wrong thing or the right thing, and kids revolt. They don't want to be controlled. You don't think they know if they're trying to be controlled when they go to college? And so, but we believe it's an effort to brainwash, just like Hamas. Hamas wishes to brainwash you at a young age. So does the left. Yep. They want to get you young and throw at you insane things and pressure you and then brainwash you in college. We've seen it. It's not like we're making this up. We all know it.
Yeah.
Colleges are institutions of insane liberalism, of identity politics, which is racism, judging people by groups and not individuals, anti-Semitism, racism again. And what they're trying to do is brainwash you through your peers, through the college courses, through an authoritarian infrastructure which is set up in the classroom with the professors.
Yeah.
And then they want to get it all the way down as young as we can possibly get them to brainwash them at such a young age that if you wish to be the opposite sex, you can be the opposite sex. No, you can't.
Yep.
And think about how long it went on, because you and I, for years, because we've been on this for years, I don't know of a radio show that was on the radical transgender movement before we were.
No, we were on very early.
Yeah, we were on it so early. Some of the things that we had said is we said that and I'm getting more comments now on that from many of our gay listeners that said, yep, you guys did call it. You said you're going to regret, and we regret. We don't want the transgender movement to be part of our movement at all. And then they object to even our movement because it's like we don't want to be judged by our sexuality. We want to be judged by our character, by how productive we are in society. We don't want to be judged by those particular things. And so Charlie Kirk had a message. It's the message that conservatism sells, which is individuality and autonomy. Why the hell do you think the critical race theory came out and said that individuality, productivity, showing up to work on time, all the great characteristics that make a good, productive person out there who realizes they have value, because in order to get value, though, you've got to prove yourself. You've got to earn respect. How do you earn respect? You earn respect by doing the right thing, being productive, helping other people. It takes effort to do so. They reject all of that. Why? Because they don't want you to be that way.
Right.
They don't want you to be an individual. They don't want you to be autonomous. That's why, again, think about this. We all know it. Remember how we said, this is here we go. Here's where they're going. That individuality, picking yourself up by your own bootstraps, freedom and opportunity, earning your own way, earning respect. All these are just white supremacy. Well, that's a load of horse manure. We all know it. But they want to brainwash you into that because they want power and control over you. And that is a similarity of socialism, communism, the totalitarianism, and the of like Hamas and terrorist groups. It's all the same. We wish to control you, so we've got to brainwash you, and we've got to do it at a young age.
Yep. And that's exactly the game right now. And it's amplified greater than it's ever been in our society.
Yeah.
What better approach than to say to kids, hey, don't listen to your parents. They don't know you.
And so Charlie Kirk offered the alternative, and he went to college campuses, and kids went, we like that. And more young people saying, we like that. And more young people saying, We like this, we like this, we like this. We might not like that. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to agree with you on everything.
Right.
We're not them. Thems are the people that say you must agree with everything that we believe or we reject you.
Right.
Charlie Kirk was putting the other message. I may agree with you on 3 out of 5 things, but those 3 out of 5 things are core critical things to us. And the things I disagree with you with, I still love you, and I still wish to have the discussion, and I still wish to convince you, and you attempt to convince me. The left can't have that.
No.
They cannot have that.
No, they can't have the truth exposed.
It must be the Borg, to go back to Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it cannot contain joy. See, if you focus on the truth and you believe in something, no one can steal your joy. They'd like to. But what they don't want to do is they don't want a bunch of young people finding that same joy.
Yeah, you're right, because it all leads to the pursuit of happiness.
That's it.
Life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
That's it. Right there.
Can't have that.
They can't have that.
Can't be joyful.
Nope.
Now, they tried to sell that last year.
They used joy for 10 minutes.
And then the left rejected it. We're not joyful.
The Veep candidate kept challenging everybody to a fist fight. What the hell's wrong with Tim Walz?
That would have given me
I
joy.
can beat them up. Nobody asked.
Well, we still doubt that he could successfully accomplish
He's
that
spent
goal.
half of his time trying to keep his pants pulled up.
It's very tough. I think I could get a good swing in with those hands, jazz hands up in the air. 866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. The coming up far on the top of the hour, the evidence against Tyler Robinson. And then the world's premier expert on climate change has a couple of comments coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, he is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You know, I did see again yesterday the Mike Rowe commercials.
Yeah, Mike Rowe works.
Yeah, I mean they're and this is a shorter ad. I think it was like a 15-second, wasn't the 30-second ad.
All right,
but still really, really good. And you know, it was Mike Rowe who was talking about, and other I think it was more conservative publications that were talking about that if you want to get young people interested in more technical jobs, you're going to have to market it. You're going to have to market it. You're going to have to make it seem attractive, and you're going to have to make it seem cool. And I've got to tell you, if I was 18 years old and not sure what I wanted to do, the way he's running those ads would get my attention.
Yeah, you and I have talked about it over the years about industry right now that's looking to fill jobs, and a number of industries have been looking to fill a certain amount of jobs for a while, and it clearly, to me, it became evident that it's generational. it's like, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to do something more tech involved. But it also is that miscommunication, misunderstanding, whatever it may be, that requires, as we have said over the years, those industries and those particular companies to do a better job at recruiting. It used to be during our time, you'd put an ad in the newspaper or whatever, and usually for manufacturing, it was a bigger ad. I do remember that, right? So if it was a global manufacturer that had set up in your town, and especially if they've been there a while, you would see that ad. You would probably be more likely to hear about those hirings that they were hiring before that, because it would go through town pretty quickly. And so there wasn't a campaign that I can recall that would, again, make it look like a great job. And it's because the mindset at that time was, what does it pay? Oh, wow. It pays $8 an hour, and you get overtime, and you work 4 on, 3 off, whatever it was.
Well, that's because we were immersed in that culture.
Exactly.
The culture already existed.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is that you didn't really need to do any campaigning beyond that, just put the word out. And, you would have somebody's parent or brother or sister that was already working there, and, okay, here's what they like, here's what they don't like. Like, yeah, but I'm looking at the car they drive. I'm looking at their cool apartment or whatever, and I'm looking at the freedom that they have as a result of going and working hard and all of that. But now there is a shift in the jobs, and I think there's going to be a shift as a result of the advent of AI. I think the tech jobs are going to really start to change drastically. They already are starting to change drastically. But also Mike Rowe has pointed out that there will be a great infrastructure, energy infrastructure and otherwise, required in order to support AI and these AI companies. So it's going to require, some people doing some hands-on work, with your hands. And when you do that, in today's world, there has to be now this retraining of the mindset, or, reintroduction. If you're talking about the first time for a new generation, then it's the introduction of the benefits of the job, but also the nature of the job. And I think that's, what you and I have talked about, and it's refreshing and certainly encouraging for someone like Mike Rowe to be heavily involved in that, because he's got a lot of influence in doing that.
And he's a cool guy.
He is. He's
he really is.
He's a great guy.
Anybody who's ever watched
times,
Dirty Jobs before, would look at it and go, yeah, that's a pretty cool guy. Maybe it's interesting. Maybe that's an option. Again, I am. You and I talk about our parents a lot, and I'm so blessed to have had the parents that my dad's still alive, my mom isn't, but the great advice from my parents. And I've said this many times as the debate goes on: college or trade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I talk about that when my father back in 1969 told me both.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget it. You need to be good at 4 or 5 different things. Industry, business, sales, and then maybe what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he viewed industry and business different than sales. The other thing I should throw in there is,
it's interesting
because I was a bill collector. So
yeah. What's interesting is he was probably trying to break down the different roles within industry and business, and sales it's a totally different animal, right? It's a different.
It applies to both, though.
Skill level, it does, but in knowing that, okay, these are things within that, any of those, it's talking about the job roles, what the roles may be within any industry or any business setting. You and I have kind of learned that here in radio. This is all I've done since I was 18, aside from side gigs in manufacturing along the way. But you learn in radio that you've got to, especially when you're starting out, you got to do everything. You got to be good at promotions. You got to be good at sales. You've got to be good at management. You've got to be better than I am at time management. You've got to be, there are things that you have to do within any given business.
The reason I like what my dad told me is I had no prejudices then.
Mm-hmm.
It was just what's open for me, and everything I ever worked at was different, and I was fearful of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can do that. And you do it, but the one thing that I hear from young people is, I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Well, you're not.
Right.
You're doing that now. I never knew that because I was able to work a variety of jobs in industry and business, that it would pay off when I became a talk show host.
Yeah.
Because you have a more well-rounded knowledge of things besides just, what is the political party that I disagree with and political party that I agree with saying today. You can talk about, you and I, we can talk about things, in engineering, in electricity. We understand those concepts.
Right.
And because of the experience that we have, which I believe helps us tremendously be more broad-based as talk show hosts. I think it helps. You have credibility in more areas, which I never thought about when I was actually doing those jobs, because I never knew I was going to end up doing this because I didn't want to do this. And so I'm really, when you think about it, I'm really the product of being offered all these jobs that I never wanted to do and ended up liking all of them.
Yeah, right.
And that's sort of how life goes. And so that's the one thing is that I would want, that I think needs to be promoted out there. I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Well, nobody says you're going to.
Right.
It's something different that you can experience. But that came from my dad opening up all things, saying, open up everything. Just don't say you're going to do this. Even if you want to do this. And at 14, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And my father told me that I had no idea.
Right.
Well, I did. I wanted to goof off.
Yeah. Nothing. That's something to do.
Nothing, exactly.
Do nothing, yeah.
And that wasn't one of Dad's options. It wasn't like, look, you need to have a college degree. You need to be good at some kind of trade. You need to know how to sell. You need to know how to do this. And you need to know how to do absolutely nothing and just, in your mind, create a pathology of dependency and be dependent on government for the rest of your life. That wasn't an option.
I would have loved to have laid on the couch and done nothing all day, but I do oddly get the suspicion, I get the idea that had my dad approached me at 17 and said, look, what I want you to do is lay on that couch and do nothing all day, it probably would have driven me crazy right away. Little reverse psychology.
Right. If Dad wants me to do that,
I got to get out of here. I can't lay around all day.
I need to go out and be productive. My parents are telling me to be lazy.
Reverse psychology.
Your father would be going,
yeah, I got it. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but I love seeing that because it opens up when you get to do something, technical, there's just something to that. I mean, maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
I still tinker around with a bunch of stuff today, but maybe it's just me. But I just think it really is. It really is something. It really broadened my mind. I accomplished things that I thought I could never do. Reading a blueprint and then completing a job and getting it done and setting up the machines and just doing everything that was involved and then learning to run a number of machines out there. It was great.
Yeah.
It really was great. And then to me, I learned to talk by being a bill collector. You have to call and talk to people about uncomfortable things, and you've got to sound confident. You can't sound scared. For somebody like me, that was huge to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you got to pick up on it pretty quickly or you're gone.
Yeah.
And I can still remember having to call the first person on the phone who was delinquent in their bill. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. I think that was scarier than talking into a microphone the first time. But I remember, I can still remember sitting at the desk in the bank. I could go to the 13th floor of that building and show you exactly where that desk was. That's how imprinted that is on my mind. But it taught me how to communicate with people. And now at my age, my nephew and my great-nephew hear this all the time. You know, I'm just sitting there and I'll meet anybody. I start talking to them. That was not me. That was never me. I've become my father, who I was always embarrassed by because my father would be out somewhere and seeing somebody, hey, what's going on? I'm like, why does my dad got to talk to everybody?
Yeah. Right.
Holy hell, that's me now. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. I look to do that now. I see somebody doing something interesting. Hey, what are you doing over there? What's going on?
Well, and every aspect of every job is part of what will build skills for whatever it's going to be later in life.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, think that they know, what they want to do, which is great if you actually do and you pursue it. I've had a couple of, 3 nurses, 2 doctors in my family. Clearly, they have zero actual genes that we share in our, at least in the brainwaves. But no, they were heavily motivated. I remember when my one niece was testing during medical school. My gosh. I can't imagine the stress. But I think there are a lot of us, and I was the case, I really didn't know. I thought law enforcement. I thought, a number of things and, had ideas. But when I found radio at 18, sorry, I love radio. And I'm going to take every experience I can to build whatever I can here. And, I've had young people in my life say, well, I don't think I like this. It's like, take the daily experience and put it on your shelf. Put it in your Rolodex. Put it in your file to build those skills. That's what you're trying to do, that experience. And then when you've got that experience, next thing you know, you've got well-rounded experience you can offer to employers, which means you have greater say-so as to what you do.
Well,
that's how it works.
You hit it right there. I don't think most people, when they get into the workplace, especially if they're successful, end up doing anything that they thought they were originally going to do.
Right.
And I had the experience with, as I told people before, I have 2 chosen daughters. And one of my chosen daughters, I remember telling that a long time, I want to be this, I want to be this. I said, you don't know what you want to be. What you want to be is when you become good at something and you get power and control, not in a bad way, but in a good way where then you can set the agenda and what you do actually works out there in the marketplace, then you're drawn to it.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's exactly what happened to her.
Yep.
She's exactly at that point right now and like as happy as you can be.
Yeah.
And so I just think that Mike Rowe doing that, all the technical stuff, it broadens your horizons. And I think anything that you can do, when I see, to make it political, why not? That's what we do. When you see the insanity of some of these young people who have no critical thinking skills before, diversing a little bit when you get in the workplace is something that gives you something that they'll never have. The ability to communicate with people, the ability to compromise, because when you have customers, you've got to compromise.
Yeah.
When you're in the work, you've got to cooperate, you've got to compromise, you've got to please the customer, and at the same time do the job for the company. Well, that is, I think, in today's society, sometimes pretty rare.
Yep.
Especially at a young age. And if you get to master that, you don't know what your potential is. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, what evidence do they have against Tyler Robinson? We'll get to that. But following the bottom of the hour, here's the headline. Fear-mongering predictions about climate change keep falling apart. It's something that we have said since I've been a talk show host, for gosh sakes, for so many years, and saying when every single major catastrophe prediction made doesn't happen, when do you question the credibility of saying the world is doomed because of climate change? And that's exactly what he's hitting as he goes over. He said, there's over 100 of them, and every single one of them did not come true. Yet there seems to be no consequences to the fact that you're always predicting wrong.
Right.
We'll get to that coming up.
We have a line open. 1-866-90 Red Eye. Red Eye Radio.
He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So here it is, and this is fear-mongering predictions about climate change keep falling apart. Bjorn Lomborg wrote this. Now, Bjorn Lomborg is somebody who believes that climate change is actually happening.
Yeah.
He's not sure to what degree. He believes that, because the biosphere is such the world biosphere is huge, and it's tough to calculate anything, but he believes that man is having some kind of an effect.
Mm-hmm.
He also believes that everything that the left has done is wrong. And he gives an example in the first paragraph of this New York Post article where he said, over the past half century, environmentalists have predicted countless calamities. Their extreme predictions were typically wrong. Their draconian countermeasures turned out to be misguided. And we should be grateful we didn't follow their harmful advice. We need to keep this history in mind as we are still pounded with stories of climate Armageddon. This summer, headlines about the Great Barrier Reef painted a dire picture of climate-driven devastation, with environmental journalists claiming the reef was on the brink of collapse. In reality, data has now showed the reef has had its fourth highest coral cover since records began in 1986, revealing that the alarmist narratives were vastly misleading. Then goes on to say that with science and technology, that rich countries have dramatically reduced air and water pollution, and poorer countries are starting to do the same thing as technology makes them more productive as a nation. This is the thing that you and I have talked about before, though, as he writes here. A recent peer review study counts almost 100 environmental doomsday predictions that environmentalists have made over the past half century. 2/3 of them predicted doom before August of 2025. How many have come true?
0.
So that'd be roughly 75. 0. The first well-known environmental scare story was the 1968 book Population Bomb, which warned that the global population was out of control and argued for widespread forced sterilization. Given the inevitability of hundreds of millions of hunger deaths, the book also argued we should just stop food aid to basket cases like India. Thankfully, the world ignored this. Instead, scientists spearheaded the first green revolution that led to much higher crop yields and more than 1 billion more people being well fed. Today, India is the world's leading rice exporter. 1972, Limits to Growth projected that food scarcity and pollution would cause global collapse. Time magazine predicted a future with few gaunt survivors desperately tilling freeway center strips in what used to be Los Angeles. The world would run out of everything from aluminum and iron to oil and food. This was the mood that shaped the world's first UN Environmental Summit in 1972, when the chairman declared that the world only had 10 years to avoid environmental catastrophe. He became the first director of the UN Environmental Program and argued that doomsday was very probable unless we ended destructive economic growth. Economic growth had to end. Thankfully, we didn't follow his advice. Instead, persistent economic growth means more than 3 billion people, 41% of the world's population, do not live in extreme poverty. Predictions that we would run out of resources were wrong. Astonishingly wrong. Instead of rationing the last resources, humanity chose innovation that allowed us to dramatically increase supply while lowering cost. In 1980, the world had enough oil for 30 years under 1980 consumption. Since then, we have used all the oil we thought was left and 80% more. Yet because of better technology, we now have decades left at our new, much higher annual consumption. Goes on to talk about the simplistic, alarmist predictions of the 1970s set the tone for decades. And still today, it's the same old alarmism. Alarmist climate concern has become enshrined in policy, with nearly every rich country now endorsing the idea of achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. The best academic estimates show that the costs outweigh the benefits in the 21st century by 7-1, with policies to achieve this goal costing an unaffordable $27 trillion annually. And just goes on. Climate economics clearly tells us that the most effective and the cost-efficient approach to climate change is to invest significantly in research and development for low CO2 energy. By boosting innovation, we can achieve technological breakthroughs that will eventually make green energy more affordable than fossil fuels. Instead of just rich countries buying expensive green energy to feel virtuous, that can help the whole world to eventually switch because greener is cheaper. Just as we should give thanks that we did not follow the failed policies of the past, today we need to recognize that the resurrected climate doomsayers, what they're promoting is untrue and utterly unhelpful. So that's Bjorn Lomborg. Very important to bring out because we hear it more than ever today. Thank goodness we're stopping a lot of
Yeah.
the subsidies out there. Thank goodness we're looking at nuclear. Thank goodness we're looking at more natural gas. Thank goodness.
Well, and again, it's, there will come a time at a point, I think we're getting close to this point, if we haven't reached it already, and I think we'll only know this fully in hindsight, of that whole transition, from based on the mandates, any mandates that were put in place. When you look at what would have been required had those mandates held, we've never accomplished that ever as a nation, ever. I'll say this. It's only slightly energy related. It's not, the basis of energy in the country, but AI is going to require a lot of energy.
Yes. Yeah.
AI already has the demand. The demand is there for AI, which sees now the building of the infrastructure to support it, including energy, and what it's going to take to support that. That's what you see when we're advancing in some way. If we were going on to a more efficient source for energy, you would see that demand skyrocketing and the private sector struggling to keep up. Instead, what do you see? Government mandates being in place to force the use, and still it's not working, even with government money being put into it, because the demand simply isn't there.
How can you be wrong for half a century on every single major doomsday prediction and still only government can do that? The private sector couldn't do that.
Right.
You couldn't be wrong on all your future projections and still be in business. Only government can be wrong on everything.
Yeah, you're in the private sector, your investors would be gone.
Yeah. But on everything they've been wrong. That's the point Bjorn Lundberg's making.
Right.
On everything they've been wrong about the doomsday predictions. None of them come true. I know the one that you personally love the most, the gondolas on the streets of Washington, D.C.
Yes. I kind of like The Day After Tomorrow, too, because, one, I had a friend who worked stunts in that movie. But number two, it's so ridiculous.
I like the helicopters falling from the sky.
Chunks of ice, all of a sudden, downtown New York just becomes one big chunk of ice, That's great science fiction to watch for entertainment.
Well, I don't know. Mondami's trying to make it Siberia.
Yeah, it's true.
So
there are similarities.
Under the Soviet Union styles, so you never know.
You might need some heavy coats there. They might outlaw heaters under him in New York, So you would have to have heavy coats. It would feel like the entire city is freezing. Yeah. No, there's some similarities.
But that's the amazing thing, that we as a society will accept complete ineptness, complete total delusions, which still continue today. Think about it. The delusions still remain for climate change, and it still has expanded across the board. No critical thinking skills, no logic, no science.
Yeah.
That's what the left is running on.
Right.
And you wonder, when is it just going to eventually collapse and people say, I just want something reasonable?
Yeah. Well, I think, I think that's what it is that right now when we talk about forcing new forms of energy onto the market, when back in the day when Barack Obama told the San Francisco Chronicle, under my plan of cap and trade, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. That was the problem with Obamacare. Everybody thought it was going to be free. They thought, well, it's wind, it's solar. The wind is free. The sunshine is free.
Remember that?
I mean, that's what they think.
Remember, we got to go with it because the sun and the wind are free.
They can provide, and it's an endless source. It's renewable. It's there all the time, except for when the sun isn't shining and when the wind is
free. Has never cost so much.
Yeah. Remember that one thing from Turcotte here in Texas, and it was this warning that, sorry, if your grid is, if the part of the grid that you're on is relying on wind power or solar, there are going to be problems over the next few days because wind is going to be next to nothing and the sun won't be shining. That's not even catastrophic in nature. That's just a typical day in weather as weather comes and goes and changes all the time. This is what they have built. They built this lie that we can do all of this, and all we have to do is put a windmill up or put something up, a solar panel up, and harness the sun and harness the wind. It's not anywhere near that simple, and it's enormously expensive.
Well, remember when Biden was running, and for months he was saying, we're going to create an entire grid run on solar and wind.
Yeah.
And finally, after about a year, at the end of it, they said, oh, and nuclear.
Yeah. Right. And nuclear.
But for a year, we were like, you people are idiots.
Right.
Well, this could be great. Solar and wind. Can't work. Why not? The sun doesn't shine all the time, and the wind doesn't blow all the time.
That's right.
Well, then we'll just wish it true. We're going to click our heels.
That's right.
There's no place like wind and solar, and then it will all come true.
I missed my opportunity on that whole solar-powered tanning bed thing, which is actually just a lawn chair.
I like that, yeah. I like the solar-powered tanning bed.
I missed the opportunity because I think people are starting to snap out of it. I still might be able to make a few bucks. No wires, no batteries needed.
It's also
not even a solar panel is needed.
It's also a free natural shower bed.
That's right. Yes. It becomes a shower bed. Just add hose and water. Exactly.
And natural drying, if it's just wind blowing.
That's right.
Drying
wind-powered drying feature on the chair. Yeah.
Idiots, morons, imbeciles.
And I hope they make me a millionaire.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because our show ends in an hour, and when it does, it becomes our podcast. That's right. We record our show, becomes our podcast. If you didn't catch portions of the show, you can right after the show is over. So we make it very simple. And if for some reason you cannot listen to one of our great radio stations live, well, then you can listen because we stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app. All right. One thing that got to me. There I was at the New York Post looking at that article we were talking about, Bjorn Lundberg, about climate change.
Yeah.
And when I finished reading at the bottom, it said, I'm not kidding, Chelsea Clinton is 45 years of age. Check out her latest bikini photo. Click here. I'm not kidding. I did not click.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I did not click.
Yeah.
I did not click.
I don't need to see that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.